Good morning, Top Fan Rivalry followers. It's Bill from Top Fan Rivalry. Friday morning. You know what that means. That means it's the weekly review. That means we got Jackson. We got Bill. We got all kinds of fun today. I got the Dodger background in the background because I just got home from the game like a couple hours ago. So, Jackson, how are you this morning? How was your Friday treating you?
I'm doing great. Friday's treating me pretty well. I got the day off today, so
Oh, look at you. Look at
look at me,
you.
look at me
I
to
mean,
enjoy
look
a
at,
Friday for once.
yeah, how about this side? How about that side? You guys are looking pretty good.
Yeah.
Woo! All right, Jackson, what do you got? So we're going to go through three awesome experiences or something to that effect, three each. So what do you got for your first one?
Let's talk about the man of the week, Framber Valdez, no hitting the Cleveland Guardians on 93 pitches, Bill. He faced the minimum 27 batters. He walked a guy and got the guy 2 batters later to roll into a double play. That's an absolutely masterful performance. Uh, I mean,
Yeah,
there's not much to say. First lefty in Astros history to throw a no hitter, and that's actually really strange because they have about 20 no hitters, or approaching 20 no hitters, and he's the first lefty to do it. But
yeah,
Nolan Ryan probably has like 4 of those, so it checks out.
yeah. It checks out. I mean, you're talking about Frammer. Let me wipe my face 100 times on each pitch.
Hey man, he
Valdez,
just I get it, man. I sweat a lipping.
that guy.
I was gonna say, have you been to the South, Bill? You walk outside and you feel like that.
Let's not forget that they keep that place 72 degrees and the roof is closed. I think when I did a tour, they've only had the roof open like a dozen times in the last 2 years or something like that, 3 years for any home games.
Coincidentally, that playoff game against the Yankees, right?
Yeah, yeah. There's some rule. I can't remember what it was, but it has to have 0% chance of rain and some stupid like weather rule, like it can't be more than 78 degrees and it can't be lower than 71 degrees during game time or something like that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that is weird.
Yeah.
If it's gonna rain, put the roof on. If it's not, take the roof off.
So the owner has a little box kind of behind the stadium. There's a building and it's exactly 442 feet away. And he has told any player that can hit it during the game, his box, hit that window, that they'll pay him, he'll get blah, 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 um, you know, dollars or whatever. Well, it's a great bet because the roof's always closed. So you're never going to hit it. So, anyways, good call. Yeah. I mean, congratulations on the no hitter. That is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's probably probably the most efficient no hitter you'll watch. 93 pitches.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
crazy.
Exactly. All right. So here you go. You ready for mine?
Yes.
You got a 4 game series. Jackson, if you score 24 runs in a 4 game series, which is averaging 6 runs a game, in one of the games you score 9 runs, in 2 games you score 6 runs, you're winning that series, right?
Hopefully.
Not so much. Not if the other team scores 46 runs over that 4 games and are averaging 11 and a half runs. So Cincinnati um, wins 6-5 on Monday against the Cubs, then proceeds to lose 20-9, 20-9. Yeah, 3 touchdowns and a missed extra point against 3 field goals. Then they lose 16-6 when they were up 5-2 in that game. And then they lost yesterday 5-3. Let's talk about the Cubs and how hot they are. Hot, 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 hot. These guys are amazing right now. And they're only 2 games out of the wild card. Convince me that they're not hot.
Well, they are hot. They've kind of brought themselves back from the dead, per se. Because a couple of weeks ago they were sitting like what 8 games out, something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
They looked pretty dead in the water. Everyone thought they were going to trade Stroman, trade Bellinger.
Hmm,
In
hmm.
fact, I think in our trade deadline, when we talked about the trade deadline briefly, we talked about how they needed to trade Cody Bellinger. Then all of a sudden they win 8 games in a row and they're back in it.
Exactly.
But
Exactly. Yeah,
I'm not denying that the Cubs are hot, Bill. But we're leading up to that Red Series. Their last couple series were against the Cardinals, the White Sox, the Cardinals, and the Nationals. So that's
but look,
that's a
but you still got to win those games.
that's a stretch of the game. You still
Yeah,
got to win
but
those games.
you still got to win those games to make it reasonable. And then they just manhandled the first place Reds.
They did.
They took 3 out of 4 from the first place. Scored 46 runs, Jackson, in 4 games. Sign me up for that. I'd say something about the Braves, but the Braves are the best team in baseball, so I can't. I can't say, well, what about the Braves? I can't say that. Although
Yeah,
I can say this. Remember, who's the worst team in baseball?
the Oakland A's. That's in
Oakland A's. Now,
Kansas City Royals, maybe. Is it still the
yeah,
A's?
it's still the A's. They got
Still
80
the
wins
A's.
or 80 losses.
All right.
Now, remember, you just listed off a stretch of teams that are terrible, right? Or are struggling, and the Cubs are beating up on them. How did you guys do against Oakland and Oakland?
The Braves lost 2 out of 3 in Oakland and then won 22 of like the next 26.
That's my mic drop right there. You still gotta win those games.
Still got to win those games. That is true. I am going to say though this was at the friendly confines of Wrigley Field, so be prepared for lots and lots of offense and hijinks with fly balls because it gets really windy and really hot in Chicago this time of year.
True. It's true. That's true.
We might see each team scoring like 40 runs in three games. The way these guys hit, so exciting series this weekend.
Then who do you got for number 2?
Number 2, we talked about on the live the other night with Thomas. We talked about how the Mets sold at the trade deadline. And they weren't that far out of a wild card spot, but they're kind of pivoting. I think the Mets. I want to hear your thoughts on the Mets, Bill. Are the Mets tanking? They just got swept by Kansas City. They produced 3 hits in the finale until the 9th inning in a game that they lost 9-2. And it's been leaked from ownership that they are planning for 2026. So, I mean, what happened? They trade Scherzer, they trade Verlander, and the wheels are coming off.
By far. By
Thoughts on the whole
far.
Mets situation here?
Okay. Here's my thoughts on the whole Mets situation. It's super simple. Okay. The Mets went out and spent $1 bazillion during the offseason. Every Mets fan was high-fiving each other in the streets in Queens, in the offseason. And arguably, the Mets on paper should be in the National League Championship Series. But the game's not played on paper, it's played on the field. The Mets were overall, the Mets were pretty terrible out the chute and still have just remained terrible. The fact that the fact that Max Scherzer has a player option, I think it's like $35 million and he's already exercised it for next season. And that the Mets have to pay that, plus they have to pay a large chunk of his, like, again, the Mets are paying like 60 some odd million dollars to Max Scherzer to play in Texas. That's how bad, like, Uncle Stevie threw around money, but he might not have understood the baseball concepts and the baseball rules. Not awesome. Um, if they're playing for 2026, that means that they're throwing in the towel for 2 more seasons. Now, that's the case. Yeah, I mean, what free agent's going to want to go there at the deadline next year? Hey, we're not going to be winning for a year and a half. Why should I go there? The Mets are terrible.
Yeah.
I feel I feel bad because I want the Mets to be really, really good. But they're just not what I mean, break down your thoughts on. Tell me what you think.
I you know, I think that, it is mismanagement. They came into the season with the belief that, they were going to win 100 games again. and that they added all the free agents. They won the offseason. It's kind of what's happened to, we've seen it with teams like the Padres in the past. The Tigers are another notable example where they build this super team, and you expect, you have the names on the paper and you're like, why aren't we just winning games? At the end of the day, you got to play the games, and a lot of it's, you can get on base all you want, but you got to hit when you need to. The timely hitting hasn't been there for the Mets this season. So with offensive struggles like that, your pitchers feel like they need to go out there and throw a complete game every game, and guys start to fall
Yeah. Yeah.
apart in the
I
sixth inning. That also really hurt them. Pete Alonso went down for a while, and they had his backup was Vogelbach, and that's pretty much it. They didn't really have like a true first baseman. They were playing Mark Canha at first base.
Well, and
So
I also read that Pete Alonso was on the trading block.
yeah,
Um,
which is wild to me. A couple of years ago he was a top MVP candidate, hit 50 something home runs, 53 home runs, something like that.
yeah. Well, not only that, I mean, the guy's kind of you got to have a marquee player on your team. The Braves have Acuna, right? If the Braves traded Acuna, I'd be shocked, right? You got players, all over baseball that just come up with a system and they stay there. Will Smith for the Dodgers as a catcher, right? You're not going to see Will Smith get traded. You may see him not resign and sign for more money someplace else, but for the most part, these are franchise players. You can't trade your franchise player. Yeah.
Yeah, and I understand that the Mets want to get younger and they want to adopt the Dodgers or Braves model, but I think them thrusting all the money out at first is it's going to come and bite them in the back, because, like you said, they're paying all this money to Scherzer and Verlander, and they're not even playing for them. So they essentially paid several $100 million for a couple of prospects, which isn't really good value if you really think about it.
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Okay, I'm gonna actually surprise you because I don't want the poor Mets fans to lose their mind and start drinking this morning when they listen to this in an hour, right? Be going, that's it, I call in sick. I'm gonna double fist because Bill and Jackson talked about this. So I apologize to you Mets fans, but I'm trying to get one of you guys on a podcast to explain to me what the heck's going on in Queens. I don't get it. I don't understand. So, all right, you ready?
Yeah,
Have you ever heard of this player, Ronald Acuna Jr.? You ever heard of him?
I might have seen him play a couple times.
He's halfway decent. Okay,
A
now
little bit.
here's my question for you. He's already got, I'm looking at his stats right now. He's already got 51 stolen bases. Okay. Probably in the season was 60, maybe 70 stolen bases. Question is this. You ready? He's got 25 home runs and 51 stolen bases. Is he a 30-50 guy? Is he a 30? Is he a 40 50 guy or 40-60 guy? What is he? How many home runs do
I
you
think
think he ends up with? How many
I think
stolen
he,
bases?
I think he will get to 40. Acuna is
Really?
one of those. Yeah, I think Acuna is one of those players. We got 2 months of the season left, and he's got 25 home runs. He needs 15 home runs in 2 months, which a player like him is very capable. In this late summer, he usually heats up. I don't know if you remember in 2019, in like August, he homered in like 6 straight games, and like four straight games with a leadoff home run or something. He's the kind of guy that when he gets his power stroke going, it gets going. So I think it's his personal goal. He wants to get that 40-40 season at least. He's might get a 40-60 season. And I think Acuna has a shot. And what's really impressed me this year, he's got 58 walks to 59 strikeouts. Or if you look at his stats from previous years, he used to strike out a ton. He's basically cut his strikeouts in half while walking at a higher rate. And he's just become such a dynamic player. If you guys don't watch Braves games, I urge you to turn it on when Acuna bats. Is as electric as when Ohtani bats, because you just feel like something's going to happen. Whether, he hits a home run or line to double the gap, stretches a single into a double. Even when he walks, it's exciting because he wants to take off in almost any situation. So
I like it.
Yeah, Acuna's been Ramirez, I believe, to have 25 home runs, 50 stolen bases, something like that. So
I like it. I like it. I like it. So what do you got for number three? Because
so
I'm number three for me, Jackson, is going to be would you rather? And I'm telling you right now, I'm going to make you think. So go ahead with your number three.
that makes me think I might be stealing your thunder. You stole my thunder a little bit on the last one. I was going to talk about Acuna. Acuna is on pace for a historic season, but also Freddie Freeman is on pace for a historic season. He hit his 40th double last night.
Mhm.
So with about 2 months to play, he has a shot at 60 doubles, which would put him in like the top three of all time for doubles. I think only one person's ever had 60 doubles. And if you look at the stats, he matches. He's right there, right behind Acuna in value. If you look at it, Freeman leads him by 2 in hits. Acuna has 3 more home runs than him after last night. Freeman has some more RBIs, but he hits a little further down. On Freddie, he's got 14. So if he really gets going, he might steal 20, 25. Freeman's batting like 343. The Acuna's 335. They have a really similar on base, a really similar slugging. Their OPS at starting play last night was identical at 1,002, and their OPS plus is pretty much the same. You know, early in the season, Acuna was running away with this. Freddie's kind of pulled it close. So I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna ask you, Bill. If you had a vote, who do you vote for?
It's too early to ask me that. But all right. If I got to vote, Acuna is it's gosh, how do I describe this? Acuna is like the guy in high school that like always is walking around being flashy and talking about how he's always getting the chicks and all this stuff, right? Freddie is the quiet guy that just asks out the girl and then just goes on his way. Um, Overall, the only reason I might say Freddie is because Freddie has not had very much history of injury. Where Acuna's had a few injuries of late, and nothing that is his fault. I mean, the injury that he sustained a couple of years back in Miami, but that could hurt him in his later career, right? But so it's a toss up. Either guy is amazing, but if I have to, I'm probably going to say Freddie. What about you?
Yeah.
That's a great question.
Uh, I mean, I think uh, I think you can vote for either one. I think Acuna is going to get the edge because he doesn't play first base. So, in the eyes of the voters, he's a little bit more valuable. You know how MVP voters kind of hate first baseman because of the value or whatever when they look at the WAR and the peripheral statistics, and they're going to look at the stolen bases. And sports writers are all about romanticizing the record-breaking seasons, but I think Acuna might have like a 40-60, a 40-70 season, and then Freddie Freeman might have like the first 30 home run, 60 double season, and like forever. So it's going to be tough.
Yeah, yeah, it's going to be tough. I love that comparison, and you didn't steal my thunder, but I have one for you on a number three, and it's going to involve Freddie Freeman.
All right.
Okay, so would you rather have? Okay, now take your fandom out of it because I already know what you would say on a fandom perspective. Because I know Jackson pretty well, and I already know what he would say from a fandom perspective. But I'm asking you from a pure standpoint of benefiting the team perspective. Okay, I'm going to read you some stats. Freddie Freeman, 428 at bats, 146 hits, 40 doubles, two triples, 22 home runs, 76 RBIs. He's hitting 341. The next guy that I want to talk to you about has 400 at bats, 105 hits, 19 doubles, two triples, 37 home runs, and 91 RBIs. It is hitting 263. So who would you rather have, Freddie Freeman or Matt Olson?
In a vacuum, I would take Freddie Freeman. If we're just putting the best players on a team, Freddie Freeman. I think what makes Matt Olson great on the Braves is he fits exactly what the Braves need.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And Matt Freeman, but there's a note I want to talk about. Matt Olson is probably one of the best left-handed hitters at hitting lefties in the league. As
Yeah.
weird as it sounds, most big lefty power bats struggle against lefties. Matt Olson's kind of immune to that. You see him bring in the lefty, you'll still hit like a 450-foot home run on a pitch like up in on his hands. So it's really close, but in a vacuum, I'd pick Freddie Freeman. But as a Braves fan, I'm not too disappointed with Matt Olson. He's having a
No,
crazy year too.
and you know what? You know what's crazy about Matt Olson's season is they'll talk, but normally when you're looking at 37 home runs, leading the league with I'm sorry, he's behind Shohei, who's got 40. But when you're talking about 37 home runs and 91 RBIs in 106 games, typically you're saying there's your MVP. It's not. Freddie, Acuna, like there's so many good guys in the NL that Matt Olson may come in third or fourth in that voting. Tell me
Yeah,
I'm wrong.
yeah, you're absolutely right, and it's absolutely bonkers
Yeah,
that Matt Olson could finish third in MVP voting because literally any other year in the National League, he's probably a lock for MVP. Like he does this last year, he beats Paul Goldschmidt
yeah,
easily.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not even a question. Like if you look at the stats too, it's like his OPS plus is like 151, but he's just like that much further. But like he has a 967 OPS and he's like 40 points off the OPS lead. It's just wild.
yeah. No, I mean, it 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 shocks me. I mean, I'm looking at these numbers. I'm looking at these numbers and I'm like, this guy has a shot for 50 home runs and he's going to come in third in the MVP balloting.
Yeah.
Third, probably behind his teammate Ronald Acuna and definitely behind Freddie Freeman. You just mentioned Freddie Freeman. I mean, if this dude stays on the pace that he's on and ends up hitting, we'll call it 30 home runs, so another 8 home runs, um, ends up,
He'll hit 8 more home runs.
yeah, but keeps his batting average. He's at 341 right now, but keeps his batting average about 350 and ends up with another 20 doubles, 60 doubles, 30 home runs, and is batting 350. I don't know how you don't give that guy the MVP. And
Yeah, like I said, it's going to get really has 70 stolen bases or whatever, and close to 100 RBIs. You're going to be sitting there going, well, can I vote for both?
yeah, well, and
Co
here's the thing.
MVP?
Yeah, here's the thing is Acuna will, based on the numbers that we project, you and I project for both Freddie and Acuna, I assume that I assume that straight up and straight out that Acuna will win it because, and I don't care what anybody says, this is 100% true. There is an East Coast bias in baseball. Period.
Uh,
Don't tell me there's
oh,
not.
most definitely, and I think a lot of people are also going to remember, Acuna last year didn't play very well because he was coming off his ACL tear,
Right.
in his first full season. It's gonna wow like I said, sports writers like storylines. It's all about the story.
Right. I mean,
We saw it. Check out. You guys can go back and check out our top fan debate: Joe DiMaggio versus Ted Williams MVP with the
yeah,
56 game hit streak. Ted Williams hit 400 and won the Triple Crown and lost the MVP race.
yeah, yeah. I mean, Paul Goldschmidt won the National League MVP last year, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Paul Goldschmidt had 178 hits last season, 41 doubles, 35 home runs, 115 RBIs, but he struck out 141 times and he hit 317. Freddie Freeman, um, Freddie Freeman had 199 hits, 47 doubles, so more hits, more doubles, less home runs. Freddie Freeman had 21. He had 100 RBIs, so less home runs, less RBIs. Struck out 102 times versus 141. Had 84 walks to 79 for Goldschmidt, and he hit 325, and Goldschmidt hit 317, and yet Goldschmidt still freaking won the MVP. And Freddie came in, I think, third or fourth. How's that possible? What's going on? I mean, are these hanging chads here when they're voting? What's going on?
Yeah, a lot of it's the bias in the storyline, Bill. But at the end of the day, the National League has so many good players in it.
Yeah,
I look at the American League and there's a handful of good players, but the National League, it's just getting out of the National League in the playoffs this year is going to be a slog because there's some really good players, all the really good teams.
yeah. Agreed. 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 Well, Top Fan Rivalry followers, we did it. We got you your weekly review. Jackson, what did we miss? Do we have honorable mentions? Is there anything that we want to make mention of?
Anything we want to make mention of? No. Watch some baseball this weekend.
Oh,
Mets,
yeah,
Mets, Dodgers. Braves are in Chicago. All those games are in the afternoon, so check those out. And then in the AL wild card, you got the Astros at the Yankees. So that'll always be fun. Toronto plays Boston, and then Seattle is playing in Anaheim against the Angels. So lots of good baseball. So find yourself your favorite beverage, find your comfy spot on the couch, and sit back and enjoy.
exactly. And most teams are playing 4-game series this weekend because the way that the schedule works out this year is each team has 2 days off in 1 week. So if you're looking at your team and you're trying to figure out why in the world do they have Monday off and Thursday off? Each team this year has 1 week where they have 2 days off. And so, yeah, I mean, the Dodgers, for example, have a 4-game series against the Padres. Monday, Tuesday, I'm sorry, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So yeah, it's gonna be pretty interesting watching baseball. Now,
Yeah,
if you need a lighter side of baseball, go watch Wednesday's game in San Francisco. You're going to see a rookie get his first career strikeout ever for Arizona. On a 3-2 pitch, the batter almost gets hit. He thinks he gets hit. The ball goes off the bottom of the knob, which is considered a foul ball. Watch where the catcher catches it. That's all I'm going to say is watch where the catcher catches it. Just watch where the catcher catches it. Period. End of discussion. Drop the mic. Jackson, can we do this again next week?
yeah. Same time, same channel. We love doing this every week, and we just love talking baseball. And stretch run starting, guys. So
Stretch run is starting. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, cool. Thank you, top fans, for listening in and enjoy this. Make sure I know you're watching this on YouTube or in the locker room. So if you're watching it on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button because we just don't have very many subscribers. It shocks me how many subscribers we don't have with as many views as we're getting for these things. So Jackson, thank you so much for being on. Thanks for doing this with me, man. This is great. I always love doing it with you. So have a good one, my friend.
yeah, have a good weekend.